Hello and welcome back to GED Live at PALS. In today's short video, we're going to talk about how to study for the GED Social Studies test. The first thing you're going to want to do is get yourself a GED aligned textbook. This is a quick snapshot of what's available on Amazon. I've had a chance to look through several of the GED aligned textbooks, and they seem to all have their strengths and weaknesses. I personally prefer the Princeton and Kaplan editions. The GED aligned text is going to do some really important things for you. One, it's going to give you highly specific content for the test. This is a breakdown of what is going to be on the test. You can expect about half to be on civics and government, another 20% on U.S. history, and the remaining on economics and geography. It's also going to help you with the GED Specific Skills. My first suggestion for how to study is to make sure that you are actively learning as you read. It's easy to start reading something and then find yourself 5 pages later having drifted off and started thinking about other things. There are strategies you can use to become engaged and keep yourself focused on the text. One is annotate. Annotate simply means to write on the text. You can underline, highlight, write in the margins, and find ways to connect the ideas in the text. Another thing is to take notes. Simply writing things down helps us remember, so keeping an organized notebook with notes for each topic is a great way to be organized, and then practice writing down the vocabulary, which you can use later to build your vocabulary. Another skill is to ask questions. As you're reading, you can ask yourself, does this author make a good argument? Or what is the main idea of this passage? Is there a bias? Asking questions can keep you thinking about the material, and that will help you remember much more. And going back to vocabulary, understanding and remembering the terms related to social studies will help you on the test. You're going to be able to recall things for the fill in the blank questions, and you're also going to be able to understand the passages better. Building your vocabulary is also going to help you in the future, so why not? Here's an example of an annotated text. You can see they've used color coding, underlining, and then notes in the margin. So another way we can study for the GED test is to build the GED specific skills. These are just 4 of them, and your GED aligned text is going to have a list and explanations. So the GED test is not a memorization test. All over the internet there are videos explaining that you don't have to memorize for the GED test. Well, I don't find that entirely true. The majority of the test is building these skills to understand history and apply the civics concepts. So one of the skills that's really important for not only social studies but the RLA is understanding the main idea and supporting details. Another skill is determining fact versus opinion. Does this contain written evidence? Can I find proof of this? Or is it just simply someone's opinion? Making inferences is another skill that you're going to be expected to read a passage or look at a graphic and then draw conclusions about it, understand it, and relate to it. Another skill is identifying bias and propaganda. Different historical eras will view things differently, and there are primary sources that are trying to push a narrative. Being able to see what the author's intention are is a valuable skill. This is definitely not comprehensive, and there are many more. Cruising the internet, looking at the GED official site, or your aligned text will help you develop even more of these sort of skills. Here is a propaganda poster, an example of a kind of graphic you could find on the test. This is from the Second World War. We have Japanese soldier. We can tell by the flag on his hat and the title. It says, "Open trap, make happy Jap." This is using this derogatory pidgin English, the way that he is drawn is definitely in a derogatory manner. And then we have this campy phrase at the bottom, keep 'em pulling for victory. This is an example of propaganda and bias. Another thing we need to do if we want to study well for the test is to become familiar with the topics. And by become familiar, I mean you should be able to discuss them without looking at the book. If you were at a party and you met another person taking the GED test and you decided that's how you wanted to spend your time, could you discuss the Reconstruction era? Could you recall key events throughout U.S. history? Could you talk about figures? You don't need to be able to remember all names and dates, but we do need to understand the vital, important eras, events, and figures. And there is some factual-based knowledge on the test. There are fill-in-the-blank questions, and there are drop-down questions where you do need to pick the correct name or recall information about an era or event. Here's an example. I've collected 4 of these types of questions. So this one says fill in the blank. The principal author of the Declaration of Independence was. This will be in your textbook. If you don't know it, you're just guessing. If you do know it, it's obvious. That was Thomas Jefferson. Here's another example. We need to understand an era and then a key figure from that era. So we have 1820 to 1906. We don't need to know the exact date, but we can know that in this time we had the Progressive era. And it says blank was a prominent leader of the American suffrage movement at the turn of the 20th century. Turn of the 20th century, we know it's the early 1900s, late 1800s. We look through the list, we have 4 names: Susan B. Anthony, Dolly Madison, Clara Barton, and Jackie Kennedy. You just need to know. If you know who Jackie Kennedy is because of John F. Kennedy, you can eliminate that. It's not the right time period. I personally have to admit, I don't even know who Dolly Madison or Clara Barton are, and I don't need to, because I know Susan B. Anthony was a key figure for the women's suffrage movement. Fill in the blank. Here's another one. This kind of question, if you don't get it right, you're still going to probably be able to pass. But if you're going for the college ready level, it's good to be able to get as many questions right as possible to get the best score. In 1848, gold was discovered at John Sutter's Mill, beginning the mass movement known as the blank. We have a key date, 1948, in the middle of westward expansion, and we know that that was the California gold rush. If we know. If you don't, there's nothing you can do about that. This question asks us some information that we could probably guess. However, there is one key term that makes it important for us to be able to choose the correct answer. So it says, which classical civilization was characterized by polytheistic religion, the construction of massive structures still standing today, and a written language of hieroglyphs? The Romans, the Greeks, the Egyptians, and the Babylonians. All 4 of these cultures were polytheistic, constructed massive structures that some are still standing today, and there is only one that used the written language of hieroglyphs, and that was the Egyptians. If you don't know that, you're pretty much guessing. So as you can see, factual-based knowledge is important, but only for big, key events and ideas. Another way we can study for the test is to branch out and explore different sources. We don't need to be married to our GED-aligned text. It's a great idea to study it, review it, but let's explore other options. Some people are visual learners who do better with video, so watch videos. Another way that we can get better at the skills needed for reading the passages on the test is to explore primary sources. We don't know which passages or which topics will be on the test. It's ever-changing. It's the secret of the GED. So we can practice the skills of reading different 17th and 18th century language in primary sources from the colonial era or the Revolutionary War era. Even reading the way that the president spoke in the early 1900s will sound a little bit strange to us. Go ahead and read something by Woodrow Wilson. All that practice is going to help us become comfortable, and we're not going to shut down when we see them on the test. Another way you can study is to just look through websites. Enjoy carousing around the web and looking at different sources. Different parts of history or civics may be interesting to you. Why not spend 20 minutes researching a topic? But be careful. We can't trust all sources equally. Some sources are peer edited, so the public can go and edit Wikipedia. Does that mean it's not accurate? No, it may be, but it may also be inaccurate. Also look out for political bias. A quick search on YouTube for the Cold War brought some videos that are horrifying, and of the Reconstruction era brought the classic Crash Course World History, which I highly recommend all their videos, and then an enlightening second video that tied the topic to modern life. Another way we can explore is just Hollywood films that may give us a deeper understanding through the costume design and the setting of what it felt like to live in that era. This movie was a great example of costume design that made me feel the world of the Reconstruction era. It also highlighted some of the conflicts and the issues that you would learn about in your text. So, explore around. Why not? Enjoy 2 hours of history, and then no more at the end. Thanks for watching, guys. Good luck with your studies, and as always, best of luck on the GED exam.